Well, my career spans 50 years, starting with the Cowboys with John Wayne. Of course, along the way came Revenge of the Nerds and the Pom Pom Girls, 2 hits, and then a whole lot of movies in between. Well, that's a hell of a movie, The Big Red One. You know, we did a reconstruction on that film in 2004. Brian Jameson, an executive at Warner Brothers, and Richard Schickel, the famed Time magazine movie critic, got together, and they were able to access the missing footage that was cut out by the studio about a month before the movie was released. Sam Fuller turned in a 2-hour and 45-minute cut, and the studio said, no, we're not doing that. And they just yanked a bunch of footage out of the film. So these 2 individuals were able to find the footage that was torn out. It was in a vault in Kansas City, the Warner Brothers vault, and they put the movie back together the way it was supposed to be. And now it's called The Big Red One, The Reconstruction. And I'm trying to find a way to get that into the streaming empire so that people can see it. No, it was great. I really enjoyed working with Lee. He was you wouldn't think of him as being a lighthearted individual because of his persona, but he was really great with us, you know, with all the boys. That the 4 Horsemen, that's what we were called. Me, Bobby DeCicco, Mark Hamill, and Kelly Ward. We were the 4 Horsemen, and it was a great experience. I think it was between Star Wars 1 and 2. I think he'd already shot Star Wars 1, and maybe and Star Wars 1 had come out. It had been released, and then I think he shot Star Wars 2 right before we did The Big Red One. Yeah, we shot on location in Israel and Ireland, and there was about a week in Lake Arrowhead because we needed snow. We needed snow for a winter sequence. Well, a lot of people saw it subsequent to its release, but the key for the movie-going public is to find a copy of The Big Red One, The Reconstruction. It's a real classic now. They redid all the sound, so it's 5.1 sound. All of the weapons in the movie now are the actual weapons themselves. So when you see us firing an M1 Garand, that's the sound you hear. When you hear the German Mauser, that's the sound you hear. The machine guns are accurate to what they were. So it's a whole incredible experience now. Well, we were in Israel, and Israel is in a de facto state of war 24/7. So we were in the right spot to absorb what that feels like. I mean, we would be driving to the set, and we would see soldiers hitchhiking with their Uzi. That's just how it was. I don't really know what there is to talk about with Revenge of the Nerds. I mean, it's sort of self-explanatory. A bunch of nerds go up against the jocks and we win. But it really struck a nerve at the movie-going public, and it was a big hit. Well, if a movie's a hit, the other studios want to climb on the bandwagon and reap some of that income, you know. So imitation, they do it all the time. I mean, look at Tombstone and Wyatt Earp. They both came out at the same time. Entirely different versions of the same story, but nevertheless, it's basically the same movie. Which is always astonishing to me, that both those movies are in production at the same time. It's whoever gets to market first tends to win. Revenge of the Nerds was done for circa $5.5–6 million, and it made $44 million in the box office. So that's quite a handsome return, and it led to some other opportunities for me because I was in a hit movie. The Revenge of the Nerds was the biggest hit of any Carradine, unless, of course, you want to include David Carradine in Kung Fu, but that was a TV series. Primarily it was jamming, but I did participate in a couple of bands with David, and Keith and I have played together in public. I'll back him up on guitar. He's a very good guitar player, by the way. Yeah, he has an Academy Award for singing. Have you heard of a film called Nashville? Yeah, he won the Academy Award for I'm Easy. Yeah, every now and then we get together and play guitars. Well, it was kind of a prerequisite. Whenever we got together, we would all bring our guitars. but it happens less often now, but we all play. I was in the second episode ever filmed. It's called Dark Angel, and not only was I in it, but my father was in it. So they had 3 Carradines in the same episode. Actually, four Carradines, because my brother Keith was in the title sequence to the series. Race cars, oh, my favorite. Yeah, I drove at Daytona. Let me think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times I drove in the Daytona 24-hour. One time was successful. Came in 3rd in class and 8th overall. And that was in 1978. I also drove at Sebring, Florida. Anyway, I drove there on several occasions as well. I always wanted to be a racing driver ever since I was a little kid. And as soon as I got my license when I turned 16, I was on Mulholland Drive almost every night, learning the craft, learning here, learning there. And luckily, I didn't go over the edge. Well, all of us are car nuts, but I was the only one that took it to the level of being a professional racing driver. But all of us are thoroughly in love with cars and everything to do automotive, motorcycles, all of that stuff. The key is to pass whoever's in front of you, and as soon as nobody's in front of you, you tend to win. Yeah, that was 20 years of my life I raced. Well, initially, I rented race cars for about a year. I think it was $700 per race and $300 for new tires. And I did 12 races, and I had a sponsor who paid for it. So that was pretty great. I had to get myself to the race, but everything else was covered. And then my brother David bought a Daytona Ferrari race car. And so I raced that for 2 or 3 years. And then there's kind of a lull. And then I got invited to drive a showroom stock Camaro, which was a Chevrolet-backed car. So that was pretty exciting to be driving for a big manufacturer. And that segued into Corvettes, which I drove for 6 years, on and off. 3 years in a row for sure. And then my final professional team was the Lotus team. I drove a Lotus Turbo Esprit X180R, which was a great race car. I came in 2nd in that championship. And that's pretty much it. My last race was at the Nürburgring in Germany. I drove a Porsche GT3 race car. Obviously it's a race car, but there's different categories of the Porsche GT3. This was the full race one, and it was a real great experience. You cast a net out into the sea of money, and hopefully you pull in some good sponsors. I ride my motorcycle, play my guitar. I have several Mossmans. I have a Martin, a couple of Gibsons, a couple of custom guitars. I just did a couple of days on this film called Cowboy Killer, A Love Story. It was written and directed by a friend of mine. And we're doing it piecemeal because we're having issues with the Screen Actors Guild strike. So we have to keep it very low budget in order to not get in trouble. You know, we'll probably take it out on the festival circuit and see if we can sell it to a distributor. And then the rest is history. Emperor of the North. I can't really tell you a lot about it. Lee Marvin and Ernie Borgnine were in it, and Keith began a lifelong friendship with those 2 actors. Yeah, I had, when I was growing up with my father, John Carradine, who was a very well-known actor, obviously, but it took us, you know, quite a few years to figure out what he did for a living. And we saw him on TV one time getting killed, and we all, you know, my brothers and I, we all freaked out. And it was explained to us that he's an actor, he's just acting. But I never had any desire to be an actor. All I was just focused on was being a racing driver. I never thought my father was a vampire. Yeah, we did our thing. I mean, when the camera was rolling, obviously it was the set of Kung Fu. David was the star. My father was the guest star. I was somewhere below my father in terms of stardom in the hierarchy of that episode. But yeah, when we weren't shooting, we were, you know, messing around. No, David, Keith, and me. Our oldest brother, Bruce, did a little bit of acting, but he didn't do it for a living. And our half-brother, Michael Bowen, is a very good actor, and he's still acting. Well, on the Cowboys, we were sent to a writing instructor for 2.5 months before the film even started. So that was a whole lot of preparation. But if you watch the Cowboys, you can't tell which cast members are actors and which cast members are cowboys. It was split up about 50-50, half cowboys and half actors. You just hand the gun to the prop man, he puts a bunch of full load blanks in it. You wait for the director to say action and you let her rip. Well, yeah, I have a script I would like to get into production, but it's predicated on me being able to land a big enough name that financiers would want to become involved. And it's really hard to get somebody to sign on to a movie that isn't financed. It's the biggest battle there is in the movie business. I mean, if you get a movie made, that's a huge accomplishment. Get a star attached to the movie and use that star to get it financed. Well, no offense to my brother, but we need a bigger star. Dakota Johnson. You have a script that would fit her perfectly. Well, you do it in a sequential order. Once you get the movie financed and set up, about 2 months before you're going to start shooting, you go out and you scout locations. No, this one wouldn't be in the Alabamas, though it could. It could. Very good light, yes. Well, I pick, if I'm going to be involved writing on a film, I tend to get involved with somebody that can actually write. We discuss story, because I am able to picture a story that I want to tell. And then they'll do a draft of the script, and then I'll go through and fine-tune it the way I want it, the dialogue and stuff like that. But that's my thing. I'm not really a writer, I'm a rewriter. I love movies so much, it's hard for me to categorize them. There's that movie where the girl was it was called Coda, and the girl was the daughter of deaf parents, and she wanted to be a singer, and it's a very good movie. I think the actor that played her father won the Academy Award. That was a great movie. I like good movies. I also like Coming Home, which was a picture that I was in with Jane Fonda and Jon Voight. I like good films. Well, Jon Voight plays a soldier that came home from Vietnam a paraplegic, and Jane Fonda is the wife of Bruce Dern, who's a soldier in Vietnam, and she decides to volunteer for the hospital where these veterans are being treated, and her and Jon Voight become an item. Well, yeah, he freaks out because he realizes that his wife is taking a lover. Yeah, I mean, I'm in Coming Home, so I work with Bruce on that. Oh yeah, he definitely kept us on our toes. He wasn't like soft and fluffy, if you know what I mean. Well, I'm sure they did. I mean, they're professional actors, so they're gonna compare notes, I'm sure. Plus, they're under the guidance of Hal Ashby, the great director, Hal Ashby. Jeff Canoe, who directed The Nerds. Joe Rubin, who directed me in 2 movies, The Pom Pom Girls and Joyride. Joe Sargent, who directed me in The Incident with Walter Matthau. I mean, I've got a good list of directors. I think 100 and change, maybe 110, 115, but that's including television movies. No, I mean, I'm a little nerdy myself. I like remote control model airplanes, so I brought one with me to location to build, and I had the studio send me to location 2 weeks early so I could get away from all my cool stuff, like my car and my motorcycle and all that stuff, and just all I brought with me were nerd clothes, and I couldn't leave the hotel room for 3 days because I was too embarrassed to be seen as the nerd. But I finally started getting cabin fever, and I headed out, and to my utter astonishment, nobody reacted. They just figured I was an engineering student from the college, and that's when I went, oh, okay. He has no idea he's a nerd, and that sort of was the mandate that I kind of put on the other actors so that they could look at what I was doing and they could follow suit. Well, I'm nerdy, yeah. But I'm also, you know, I'm a motorcyclist and a racing car driver and a guitar player. So I do a lot of things that aren't nerdy, but I would say that the remote control model airplanes are pretty nerdy. Oh yeah, the one I'm working on right now has an 80-inch wingspan. No, I really get into it. I did this film called Number One with a Bullet, where I played a detective, and the guy who was in charge of making sure we had everything right, he arranged for me to ride in the LAPD helicopter. And that was really great. And then I took a ride along with him a couple of times just to get a feel of what it's really like. And so it helped me become what I thought was a realistic detective. The extent of it now is I drive an unmarked police car. Well, I tried to tell John Wayne how to do a scene. I can't remember if I told you that one or not. I didn't tell you that one? Yeah, I'd been on location about a week, my first film, and we're shooting a sequence where we have to ride a bucking horse, and he'll consider hiring us, you know, to be on the cattle drive. So each one of the kids, we're all sitting on this fence, and one by one we're riding the bucking horse. And after about the fifth kid, A. Martinez, the actor, shows up. He plays the part of Cimarron, and he jumps on the horse, and he rides the horse down to the point where he could make it back up and spin, and he basically breaks the horse. And he rides it up to the next kid, and he goes, "Here you go, boy, maybe you can ride her now." And the kid isn't taking it. He jumps off the fence, and they start fighting. And I jump off the fence to save the kid from A. Martinez. And Duke Wayne breaks us up, and he says, "Okay, you," to me. He says, "Get back on that fence where you belong." And he turns to A. Martinez. He goes, "Okay." And I go, "Hold on a second, Mr. Wayne. I'm the head kid. I don't think you should tell me to get on the fence where I belong. I think you just tell me to get on the fence." And you could hear a pin drop, even though we were outside in front of 150 men. It didn't go well. He let me have it pretty good. And what possessed me, 17 years old, trying to tell John Wayne how to do a scene? I don't know. Anyhow, that was a memorable moment. No, but I thought about being a cowboy when we finished the movie, and I went out to Mike Pyatt's house, who played Homer, and I was going to rope some cattle, and one of the guys that was hanging around there, he was missing his thumb. And I'm like, "What happened to your thumb?" He said, "Oh, I got it caught in a dally." And I went, "Oh, maybe I don't want to do this. I'm a guitar player." So that began and ended my roping career. Well, yeah, sure. I mean, my daughter, Ever, is a big-time actress. She's on a show right now. It's a hit show called The Handmaid's Tale. She plays Mrs. Putnam, and she's got 2 kids of her own, so I'm a grandpa. Well, I've been playing guitar with a national treasure of a musician. His name is Ramblin' Jack Elliott, and we've been going out together. And I have a concert or 2 coming up with him in October. Well, if you haven't been to the Lone Pine Film Festival, you have not lived. Come on up. I think we wrapped it up pretty good here, Tron.